So here I am, guys, back on the trail. So it's been one of those weeks for me. Actually, it's been a few months where I've had to take time for introspection and to be quiet. When you're on a spiritual journey, and when you're on a journey where you're increasing your vibration, or you're rising to different levels, sometimes you'll be challenged, right? Or sometimes you'll experience different challenges along the way, tests. I don't want to call it a test because that's why I'm kind of reaching for a word that I feel more comfortable with. I don't think we're being tested, so to speak. But as we begin to grow spiritually, there are going to be different situations that will present themselves to us. And the goal is for us to be, or to respond differently, right? So the goal is for us to respond differently, right? There should be a difference to how we respond to these situations if we are vibrating at higher levels. So this is what I've been experiencing over the course of about, I would say, 4 months. Just asking Source for guidance, but then being told that the answers are within, right? So it seems that we're always at some point, and I'll speak for myself, just looking outside for answers. And then through this process, I'm learning that the answers are within, that I need to go within, and my answers are there, right? And also what I've been experiencing is that when I take time to be still, I'm actually capable of hearing a lot of the responses to my questions, right? So whereas before, when certain situations would arise, my response would most often be a response of like defensiveness, right? I would become defensive in my response, or just, having that sense of victimization sometimes, And so now I'm learning to go within. And it's amazing what I have discovered in terms of being able to solve certain issues and surmount certain circumstances which would previously present themselves as being overwhelming, right? And would put me in that fight, flight, or freeze response. So now I see the situation, right? As I'm growing spiritually, I can see the situation, I can acknowledge the situation, and then I can go within for a response regarding how to handle this, right? So it's been really amazing. But in order for me to get to that point, there are certain things that I had to do, right? So I had to go within more often, right? And so how do you do that? How do you go within more often? Well, through silent meditation. So guys, I love guided meditations. Just absolutely love guided meditations, right? But sometimes you just need that stillness. You just need to quiet the mind, because during a guided meditation, you're still thinking, your mind is still busy, you're taking instructions. And then, for those overachievers, you're now wondering, am I doing this right? I want to make sure this is being done perfectly, right? So we start working on that overachiever status and that perfection, right? And all of these things that are contraindicated or counterintuitive to what it is that we're trying to achieve or obtain, right? Which is silencing the mind, complete silence of the mind. So learning to do that, and trusting the wisdom, right, of the spirit to give you the answers to what you need. So yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. But in this journey too, what I'm learning is trusting and obedience, right? So you have to trust and you have to take action. You have to trust the information that you're receiving, right? The downloads. And then you have to be obedient, right? In terms of taking action or responding to the messages that you receive. Give you a quick example, right? And this is just as simple as parking. So today on my way to the trail, all the parking spots, right, at the entrance of the trail, they were all occupied, right? There was nothing left for me. And so I drove all the way down past the trail, maybe a mile down from the entrance of the trail, and I parked my car, and there was this nice wide open space available for me to park. So I pulled my car in and I parked. And then I asked the question, I said, Spirit, is there something closer? And the response was like, yeah, move up. So I moved my car and I moved down. Oh, there's a nice little chipmunk doing his thing. See? Okay, we'll leave him alone. And, or her. And so, I started my car up and I drove down. And so, I saw like a little space, but not big enough for my car, right? Closer to the front of that long row of cars. And then Spirit said, keep going. So I kept going. And then I saw these people coming off the trail. And so they stopped and I stopped for them to cross. And there's two gentlemen and they motioned to me to keep going. And I said, no, after you, and I stopped my vehicle for them to cross. And then I just started moving down. And as I'm moving down, or driving my car down, I saw a woman, and the lights went on, her brake lights on her truck, and she was backing out. Just conveniently located right there where I was. And so I just pulled over, put my hazard lights on, allowed her to back out, and then I pulled into the spot, and I said, thank you. Thank you. Showing gratitude. And then, here I am, right? So now, after my walk on the trail, when I've used up my energy and I'm pretty exhausted, I have a close spot where I'm located where I can just go into my car, right? So that was obedience. Now I could have said, well, I already have a spot, right? There's enough space for my truck here. I've pulled in. This'll do, right? But then I would have missed out on that opportunity to park so much closer to the trail, right? So that when I'm done with my, 5 mile or whatever it is that I'm led to do today on this trail, then my car is conveniently located close by. So, these are the things, these serendipitous moments, right, that are showing themselves to me. The more that I am spending time with myself, right? And when I say with myself, I mean with my higher self. So this has been absolutely fantastic, guys. And then even with my practice, I've been asking questions about, where I should be going with this during times that things are seemingly stagnant in that area of my life. And then, I think back during the time that I started my practice back in, officially in 2013. And so when the passing of my mom happened, when she transitioned, I would say, it was more of a transitioning process than it was a passing. When she transitioned, there was a moment, not a moment, a period, I would say, where just things started happening for me, without any type of effort, just seamlessly, just like a flow, right? As Esther Hicks would describe it, like a cork bobbing, right? But doors were opening, opportunities presented themselves, people came forward, right? All of these like-minded people, people who were vibrating on the same level that I was, or a higher level. They were vibrating at a higher level. And so they were practically reaching down to me and giving me a lift up, right? And so all these events that happened so seamlessly, that allowed me to open this practice, right? So all these opportunities for learning. I did a lot of traveling outside of the US and within the US. And I basically was just absorbing all this knowledge in terms of naturopathic oncology. And guys, I couldn't have planned any of this because I didn't. It just happened. And so I would just step in, right? So I would just get a clearance or an opening for something, and I would just step into that. And it was just so magical and so effortless. Even the vast amount of information and the knowledge that I received, it was just like it was downloaded, right? There wasn't any effort to memorize or anything like that. It's difficult to describe, but I was just able to just download and assimilate that information. And then, recently I've been sitting back and I've been saying, well, where is that ease? right? Where is that ease and grace of how things were proceeding at one point? And then I would say to myself, well, maybe it's time for me to exit, right? Maybe I've done what I needed to do. Maybe I've fulfilled my purpose with this profession, and maybe it's time to move on, you know? And so I think it was last week, I said to myself, yeah, I should probably look into just wrapping things up here. And I just basically started looking for what my next step was going to be, my next chapter, right? And the next book in the series kind of thing. And I was in my car and I just said, you know what? I'm just starting to feel absolutely burnt out, right? So there were a series of things that happened, at the practice. I'd lost a really valuable staff member, in a really good way, though. Some doors had opened for her. And so, I had to encourage that, right? Because her journey is not mine. My journey is not yours. We're all on different journeys, and people will come in, right? They'll enter your energy space for a moment, and they'll contribute to you whatever it is that they're supposed to contribute, and then they leave, right? Some stay around longer. They're more like the roots of a tree, right? So they're grounded and they're with you longer. But some people, their interaction with you is transient, and it was meant to be transient. They weren't meant to be here for an extended period of time, but what they contribute to your life is so valuable, right? And so this was one of those situations. And so I found myself now being immersed in, all factors of my practice. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. See that? Just nice little natural waterfall here. Right? That's beautiful. It's a nice sound for meditating even. It's beautiful being on this trail. I just appreciate so much about nature and realize just how blessed I am. This is a beautiful day too. And the water's down below. Hopefully you can see that. That's beautiful too. Right? That's where it's ending up in this stream running down through here. Hope you can see that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So all of a sudden now, after that valued staff member left, and I was interviewing, but not finding that fit. And so here I was suddenly immersed in managing all aspects of the practice, right? So the front desk, and all the different departments of my practice, the clinic, as well as seeing my patients, and as well as, researching the cases on my patients. And, initially I was like, my reaction was one of, again, fight or flight, right? Fight, flight, freeze. And so, there was the panic and the frustration and all of those negative emotional responses. Just, slip back into just old patterns and responses. And again, the victimization, right? Oh, why is this happening to me, right? But why not? So within these weeks, let me tell you, I was able to have a microscopic view into the details, the fine details of the practice. all these things that have to be orchestrated in a cohesive way in order for things to run smoothly. And so there were things that I discovered that I wanted to do differently. And I had the opportunity to do that. And so just this insight into the back office portion of the practice was extremely important for me to see, to get an insight into at this time, right? And so I realized, no, this was not a negative thing. These events are not negative. These events are necessary right now, because this is where you need to be in order to learn what you need to learn, right? To be able to advance. And for me, that was just such a prolific moment. Once I had managed to remove myself from that external feed, that external bombardment of stimuli, right? Emotional stimuli that was not supporting the process or helpful to the process at all. But in order for me to see clearly, I needed to go within, right? And so I started going within more. I removed myself from a lot of people. I was around people that it was necessary for me to be around. I wasn't on the phone with, conversation that wasn't necessary or chit chat. I removed myself from any situations of gossip, or negative feed coming from anyone. I removed myself from that energy completely. I didn't isolate myself. There's a difference, right? So I wasn't in isolation. I was still interacting with people, but there was a difference in the way I reacted interacted. So yeah, that was just like so necessary for me. So television I didn't do for a while. The Netflix movies that I often enjoyed, stopped doing those. Stopped scrolling aimlessly through my phone. Stopped checking my Facebook feed and just being so, just so sucked in by all of that. Like, who's responding? What are they saying? Oh, nobody responded. Nobody liked. Like, that really doesn't matter, right? If you have something to share it. It doesn't matter if it's liked. It doesn't matter if somebody overtly responds. If you touch somebody by what you have to share, that's it. You don't necessarily have to know that you touched someone, right? In a way that's life-changing for them, in a positive sense. You don't have to know that. It really doesn't matter. You don't have to check and scroll through your phone just frantically, for likes and responses. It really doesn't matter. Do what you're guided to do and move on, right? Just move on, get on with it. And so I wasn't doing that. And I would post some things. If it came to me to post something, I would post it. But I wasn't frantic about it, right? Because as a business owner, you're taught, oh, if you're not posting, every second, then, you're not doing everything that you can to grow your business. And if you're not, constantly occupied, 24/7 from sun up to sunset, then, you're not doing what it takes to be successful. No, I can tell you that that's not true. I got more done by being still and going within than I did spinning my wheels. And that, people, is a fact. Okay? So yeah. I want to go back to that experience though, that occurred, I think it was last week, maybe a week and a half. And so I was in my car and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's just time, It's time to exit from this work that I'm doing. Maybe I've done everything here that I need to do and it's time to move on. And I'm in my car and the phone rings. And it's a family member of one of my patients. And so, I'm not going to divulge all of the details of that conversation. But the bottom line was that, as I was asking that question of the universe, source, is it time? Am I done here? Right? Is it time to pack up? And so this person was basically saying to me, you have been an angel for us, for our family. And I don't think you realize, the support that you gave us and how you helped, us to kind of make sense of all of this. And even if that's all you're doing, like, we're not talking about, we're not even getting into everything else, treatments and, organizing for this journey, and all the things that need to be in place for you to proceed towards healing seamlessly. Creating a team, selecting the members of your team, knowing what to look for when you interview members of your team, who should be a member of your team, right? How do you get organized at home? What are the things that you need to be doing? What are the steps that you need to be taking? All of these things, right? You need help with that. You need someone to assist you with that, right? You can't do this all alone. You need angels, right? These angels, just that, what she was telling me, how she was describing, the word that she used, to describe the contribution that I made to her, and her family. And so in that moment, like there's only been a few times when I've had that moment that Oprah so effectively, for the lack of a better word, right, geniusly describes as that aha moment, right? It's the moment when you're standing still and you feel like you're enveloped with light, right? And you feel like this divine presence around you. And even though you might be in a room with other people, you don't see them, right? You're in this zone, so to speak. And that's where I was in that moment, right? And so my car was parked and I'm sitting in the parking lot and I get this phone, right? The minute that I pull in, and I get this phone call. And in that moment, that's when I knew, right? The answer just came from me. It was like, no, you're not done, right? And so everything that you're experiencing in the here and now has its purpose. And then what I heard was, trust the process. Guys, I'm trying to give you a scenic look here of how beautiful it is out here. And that's what I heard. Trust the process, right? And so I'm not telling you that after that all my questions were answered, you know, and that everything was solved for me. No. But what it did do for me was it gave me perspective. Yeah? It gave me that perspective that I needed. And it gave me just an area to which I needed to shift my focus. And so, yeah. So here I am doing more of this, which is, you know, today this morning I just wanted to be outside, right? So I've been doing a lot of meditation. I spend 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, most every night, in meditation, right? And just quieting the mind, right? Connecting with the higher self. And so I've been doing that a little over a year now, but more consistency, right? And I'm seeing the growth, right? The spiritual growth and the phases of that, which is for another video. But yeah, definitely seeing these changes and getting these, you know, confirmations that I've been asking for, you know, getting more clarity on things. And it's just been absolutely amazing for me. But yeah, here I am, again, spending time in nature, spending time with myself, which is what I'm going to do now once I finish sharing my thought here with you guys. And yeah, if anything else comes to mind that I feel the urge or the eagerness to share, I will. And I hope that this will be of benefit to someone who hears it. But I won't be checking for likes, just so you know. Okay, so have a wonderful day. I hope that everything proceeds for you in love, light, and truth in the highest and best way for the greater good of yourself and mankind. And I'll talk to you soon.